Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how I make my dividers and dashboards for my personal size planner, and I'm going to be showing you how I laminate them with laminator sheets and an iron. So stay tuned to see how I do this. So firstly, I just want to start by letting you know what I actually use to make my dividers. You can use a whole host of things. In my current planner, I use notebook covers, and I bought these from Wilko, and they're in the same collection. My planner setup video has all the details of this in there, so I'll link that down below. But I use covers of notebooks and chop them up. I've also used greeting cards. I love using wrapping paper because you can get so many beautiful designs. This is by Rifle Paper Company. And it works really well. I also like using plastic folders. This is just some plastic from a folder that I chopped up. I won't laminate this though because it really shows air bubbles and mistakes, but it works well on its own. These notebooks are gorgeous and they're from Rifle Paper Company, and I just want to say that these can be great to use, but because they've got such a nice waxy sort of material finish, the laminate can come off these, I find, much easier, so they're not actually as great. You can probably use them on their own without laminating them. So to make your dividers, you're going to need a template to trace around. These are the dividers that come with the Filofax Personal, and then I'm using the dashboard that comes with it as well. The sticky bits on there I actually use to make a flyleaf in my current setup, so just ignore those. Then you're going to decide what you actually need to use to make your divider. I'm going to use the dividers from this travel journal that I found in Wilko. You're going to need a pencil to trace your templates. You're going to need a good sharp pair of scissors. Of course, you're going to need an iron. This is just a standard household iron. You're going to need a really flat surface to iron the laminates on. So I'm just showing you here. This is actually the underside of an IKEA coffee table. I'm not even using the top side because it's going to have some bumps and kinks in it. And then, of course, you're going to need some newspaper. These laminator pouches that I'm going to be using are from Wilko. They're A5 gloss. You can get matte finish, I think, but I prefer gloss. And they are 60 micron thickness. I've not actually used a different thickness with my iron on the settings that I use it on. So if you want it to work, I would just suggest using the same thickness. These are just so standard, very cheap and work a treat. I've made dividers using these and they've lasted over a year. So it's definitely worth popping to your local and just seeing what you can find. And of course, before I forget, you need a hole punch. This is just a single hole punch, and underneath it has a clear side so that I can see clearly where I've marked to punch a hole. You could probably use a double one and just angle it so that you're only using one of the hole punches. So today I'm going to show you how to make a divider. I'm going to do a sped up version of a dashboard as well later on in the video, but you haven't got a tab to contest with when you're making a dashboard. It's just a plain rectangle. So I'll show you how to make dividers, and I'm going to make top tab dividers. If you want to make dividers that have the side tabs, all you do is simply just trace out the template of the Filofax dividers or whatever dividers you have as they are, along with whichever pattern you want at that time. So you would start with the first divider, then the next, and so on and so forth. So I prefer to make top tab dividers, and that's what I'm going to show you how to make today. The reason being because in your Filofax, when you have dividers down the side, the pen can hit along the dividers and they fold and they can crease and separate and just spoil much quicker. So I just use top tabs. I've only got one side tab here for my weekly view, so it's easy for me to flick through. And the good thing about it being up there is that it's out of the way of the pens, so it doesn't get damaged. So once you've decided what sheet you're going to use, you're going to trace around your divider. And because I'm making top tabs, like I said, I'm going to ignore that tab and just carry on tracing underneath. And just trace around the whole divider. And then I'm just going to join up here the tab space that I left. So once you've done that, to then make the top tabs, all I do is just line up along the top. You can fit about 3 tabs, the size of the Filofax width of tab, along the top, which works fine for me. I just repeat the order throughout my planner. So for the first tab, just line it up against the edge, the inside edge of the divider, and trace around it. And then if you want to make a center tab, what you can do is just find the center width of the divider and line it up. Then once you've done that, your divider is ready to cut out. Then once you cut out your divider, you can rub out any pencil lines that might be left behind. Once you've done that, if you have a design on the back of the divider that you don't want, what you can actually do is flip it over, trace it on the front of a design that you do want, and then adhere them back to back so that you have a double-sided divider. Next, you need to punch your holes. So to do this, line up the divider along with your cutout divider and simply mark where the holes are. So I just put a dot in the middle of the hole. As you can see, I've switched to a pen here because I need something darker so I'm able to see it, because the design of the divider is quite dark. Then once you've done that, you can line up the holes. So I've taken off the back plastic of my hole punch so that I can clearly see the holes. This paper was really dark, so it's a bit harder to work with. And there you have your divider that is ready to be laminated. So the iron settings. With this, I put my iron on 2 dots. You don't want it to be too hot or else your divider is going to be crinkly and wavy. And you don't want it to be too warm or else it's too cold, or else it's not going to actually stick together. Then also you want to make sure that the steam setting is off. You just don't need it. And I found using steam setting can make it bumpy and just add moisture. You just don't need it. So then you want to get your laminator sheets, pop the divider, put the bottom to the top of the laminator pouch where it's already adhered together, just to make sure it's straight. Then once you've done that, grab your newspaper and pop the divider and the laminator pouch inside the newspaper. Make sure it's all really flat and smooth. You do not want any air bubbles. And then start ironing. So when you iron, you need to make sure you apply a decent amount of pressure, but I also make sure I don't iron like frantically like I'm ironing a shirt. You want to be really careful and try and go in one direction, or direction sort of away from the center of the divider to the edge, to make sure that there's no air bubbles. And then I turn it over and iron the other side, and do that for about 30 seconds on each side. And then what you can do with the iron that you can't do with a laminating machine is get right up to the edge of that piece of card. So what I do is I flip the newspaper back over, and as you can see with the iron, I feel for the edge of the piece of card, and then I hold the iron at an angle and press right up the edge. It's a bit fiddly to do, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually a really, really good thing to do, because it just makes sure that you've laminated right to the edge, and the laminate is less likely to divide that way. And then again, with the point of the iron, you can get right into the corner of the tab and make sure that that's well laminated too. And there you have it, your divider is laminated. And I don't know if the camera's picking this up, but it is perfectly smooth. The only air bubbles that you can see are the ones where there's no card in the laminate. And the dashboard, you would just do the same thing. So simple, rectangular shape, much easier to do than with a divider. Next, you're just going to cut out the leftover laminate. I like having the edge of the laminate visible. I don't know why, but it's just a preference of mine. Some people like cutting right up to the edge of the card, which is fine too. It's up to you which you'd prefer to do. Then you want to punch the holes, which is much easier to do now that you've already punched the holes. That's why I do it before laminating it. And that is it. That's how you make some laminated dashboards and dividers for your planner using an iron. It's definitely a bit of a skill to master, but keep at it and you'll get a technique that works best for you. Then what you can do is also use some quote cards, some washi tape to jazz them up a bit and make them look even prettier. They look so good in your planner, so it's definitely worth a try, and your dividers will last much longer. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to comment below and make sure to subscribe for more. Till then, take care.